Have you ever had one of those moments you look around at your life and just think, wait, this is not how this was supposed to go? It's a feeling we all know. Today we're going to dive into Lysa TerKeurst's work on this exact topic. We'll explore why life so often shatters our expectations and, more importantly, how we can find some pretty incredible strength right in the middle of all that disappointment.
Wow. I mean, that really just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The idea here isn't about trying to glue the old picture of your life back together. It's about having the courage to grieve that it's gone, so you can make room for something entirely new. It's a really tough place to start, but it's also incredibly powerful. So why do we have this constant nagging feeling that things are just off? Where does that come from? Well, the first big idea in this book uses a really fascinating metaphor to explain it.
So picture this. Our hearts were basically designed for a perfect world, for the Garden of Eden. But we're living here, in this messy, broken one. We're caught in this in-between space, this messy middle. And that gap, that's where disappointment sets up shop. So it's not some personal failure on your part. According to these writings, it's just a fundamental piece of the human experience.
What's so powerful here is how this reframes disappointment entirely. It's not just a bad feeling to get rid of. It's actually a signal that on some deep level, you know that things should be better. So instead of being a sign that God has forgotten you, it's seen as a call to action, a call to learn how to wrestle well with all the challenges life throws at you.
Okay, but what happens when that disappointment is more than just a vague feeling? What about when your life completely shatters, when everything just falls apart? Well, that brings us to our next idea, the purpose of dust.
Now this is a pretty radical idea. Usually when we see dust, we think, it's over. It's the remains of something that's been destroyed. But this flips that on its head. It says dust is actually the raw material for a new beginning. It's not the end of the story, it's the essential ingredient God uses to create something brand new from the wreckage.
This ancient metaphor of the potter and the clay really builds on that idea of dust. If we think of ourselves as clay that's been ground down into dust, it actually puts us in the perfect position to be remolded. This biblical image suggests that being broken down isn't a sign you're being thrown out. It's a sign you're being prepared for total reshaping.
And this is a huge turning point. It's asking us to consider, what if our deepest pain isn't some random accident? What if it's actually a divine appointment, a moment perfectly designed for a profound encounter with God that maybe, just maybe, couldn't have happened any other way?
Okay, so even if we can start to accept that maybe this hardship has a purpose, how in the world do you actually get through it? That's what this next part is all about. It's the nitty-gritty of how to trust a process that feels way too long and way too hard. This 5-step path gives us a kind of roadmap. It all starts with knowing God's presence is with you. Then you have to trust the process, because that process is the very preparation you need. There's a purpose in it all, and all those things together are what finally lead you to the promise. The crucial thing is, you can't skip the middle parts to get to the good stuff.
So much of this really boils down to your mindset. It's about shifting from asking, why is this happening to me, to asking, what is this preparing me for? This perspective says that comfort isn't the main goal, preparation is. And surrendering isn't about defeat, it's about handing over a burden you were never meant to carry all by yourself.
Getting through this process isn't just about passively enduring it. It's an active battle. And according to this book, that battle is fought almost entirely in our own minds, with the words and thoughts we choose to believe.
We're pretty much always faced with two competing stories. One voice whispers about restriction, deception, and paralysis. It's the enemy's voice. But then there's God's voice, which speaks of freedom, truth, and transformation. The choice of which one we tune into, which words we let take root, that choice shapes our entire reality. And this right here is the absolute key. The point isn't to magically change your circumstances. The point is to change your perspective on your circumstances. When you actively choose to believe in truth and hope, it becomes a weapon against despair, even if nothing on the outside changes at all.
I love this simple but powerful equation. When you express truth, you literally depress the lies. Speaking truth out loud robs the lies of their power. It's a small act of defiance that can make a huge difference.
So where does all this lead? All the wrestling, all the dust, all the fighting with our thoughts? Well, it leads to something the author calls an upside-down hope. It's a viewpoint where even the most painful things in our lives can be redeemed and actually find a real purpose. Now, this is not about pretending everything is fine. Not at all. True hope, as it's defined here, is about being able to hold two things at once, the raw honest, painful reality of your situation, and the deep belief that a sovereign God is still in control. It's a hope that keeps its eyes wide open to the pain.
And this is really where it all comes together. When you process hardship this way, it starts to produce these unexpected gifts. Your wrestling makes you wise. Your vulnerability connects you with others. Your hurt keeps your heart soft. And ultimately, your pain builds a kind of perseverance that forges real, resilient hope.
At the end of the day, the message is one of incredible transformation. It's the radical idea that the very things you were sure would destroy you can, through this process of faith and wrestling, become the very source of your greatest strengths.
And that leaves us with this final question. It really brings everything back to a personal choice. It's not about having all the answers. It's just about a willingness to trust. A willingness to believe that even when you're in the dust, even when it's not supposed to be this way, there is a potter at work protecting you and preparing you for whatever is coming next.